President Trump heard that you will have talked about Ukraine. I guess found a willingness in some way to amend that plan that was presented in 28 points, also taking into account the critical points that you have shown as Europeans, but not only, also as G7.
Yes, I found a willingness on the part of the President of the United States. We also had a fairly long phone call with the President of Finland, Alexander Stubb. I found an availability, I think, let's say. The work that our Sherpas are doing today in Geneva follows this understanding. Taking a half step back clearly, we have all worked for peace. We have all worked for peace from the beginning of this conflict. We have done it as Europeans, as Americans, supporting Ukraine in its ability to resist a conflict whose outcome many considered taken for granted. So, taken for granted, it was not. We have built on the ground that deterrence that today allows us to talk about peace. I think we must claim it, because it is work that we have all done together. Today, in a meeting whose outcome, unfortunately, I do not yet know because it is currently in progress. In the U.S. plan, as you already know, there are, in short, some points that certainly need to be discussed. The question of territories, the question of funding for reconstruction, and the question of the Ukrainian army. There are also many points that I consider particularly positive, especially on the subject of security guarantees, where there is, put in black and white, a direct involvement of the United States in a security guarantee proposal that, as you know, takes up an idea that was originally Italian, security guarantees based on the Article 5 model. But, in short, I think positive work can be done, and we are certainly all committed to arriving at a document, at a proposal that can be as close as possible, not so much to our wishes, but to what is needed to have peace, to have an independent and sovereign Ukraine, and to have security for Europe as well. First of all, I don't think that's the goal. Clearly not. That's not what I see in the sense that you have witnessed. I have witnessed all the times when the Ukrainians have clearly thanked me and the United States. As for the rest, look, it's endemic, in the sense that the need to continue working with our U.S. allies also obviously stems from the importance of their role. If one were ungrateful to them, there would probably not even be a need for them, in the sense that one would not understand their importance in the conflict. Instead, everyone understands it, and they understand it very well as on the issue of Europe continuing to buy gas from Russia. For example, I explained to the President of the United States that, for example, Italy, since the beginning of the war, has done a huge job. At the time, our dependence was certainly significant. So maybe, let's say, something of what happened afterward didn't come across in the communication, but we, for example, have totally diversified, as you know very well, and we are no longer dependent on Russia at all. So Europe has done, from this point of view, very important work. But I think yes, certainly, some of the things that are said serve in the end to generate a kind of pressure on interlocutors. But it seems to me that you do a little bit here, a little bit there. In short, the method, a little bit of work here, a little bit there, we know. In some cases, it has even been effective, as we have seen in the Middle East. After that, the real point, I repeat, in my opinion, is not the press statements. The real point is what eventually ends up in black and white, what is in the proposal with which Europeans, Ukrainians, Americans decide to come to the table with the Russians. On the European partners, I think it was clear from the communiqué that was made yesterday, we consider it a starting point, and we are ready to work to improve the proposal. This was in a meeting in which all the European leaders present at the G20 were participating, plus our G7 partners, so broader, and it seems to me that we are all in line. Let's be clear. Everyone here has shown goodwill from the outset, except for one, the Russians, who have not taken a single step forward since the beginning. I have said this several times to the President of the United States. I think the Russians need to give some concrete sign that they actually want to achieve peace, because everyone else, the Americans, Ukrainians, Europeans, Turks, is doing their part except for the Russians. So, for example, I think that a ceasefire to temporarily stop the bombing of civilian and strategic infrastructure, which Russia is using to try to break the Ukrainian people, which it is failing to do, would be an important step forward. As for pressure, we don't have a deadline, in the sense that we work by priority. As I said, we are working for a 112 aid package, and for now, we are not adhering. In the future, we will see, but we have not, and have not given ourselves deadlines on the issue of corruption. Clearly, it is of concern. It also affects public opinion. which, rightly, is very sensitive. I want to say that I consider it important that Ukraine has shown that it has the antibodies. In the end, we must always remember that these arrests come on the basis of initiatives by Ukrainian institutions. So there is probably a problem, but there are also antibodies to deal with that problem. The Deputy Prime Minister, Salvini, is saying something correct, that Italian money cannot go into the hands of corrupt people. And of course, we must be vigilant to prevent that. But again, it seems to me that the Ukrainian government has shown that its institutions have full will to fight any corruption phenomenon, something all the more serious, since they have people who are dying at the front.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to Mirror Now.